Hello, reader. Welcome to 20 Questions with Your Favorite Author, where we ask authors important questions like, why would you agree to be on this podcast? I'm Kelly Lynn Colby, editorial director at Cursed Dragon Ship Publishing. Our guest this week is Rick Partlow, author of military sci-fi and outdoor adventurer. Rick's lifelong love of science fiction began with Have Spacesuit Will Travel and the other Heinlein juveniles. He has written over 40 books in a dozen different series, and his short stories have been included in 12 different anthologies. If he's not your favorite now, he will be after. Good evening, Rick.
Good evening.
Good evening. Did you hear me stumble over Heinlein?
Yes, I did.
Right?
I wasn't going to say anything, though.
Because it's Heinlein forever when we were growing up, right? Until we figured out how it was supposed to be pronounced or isn't, or I don't even know what's correct. Do you know which way is correct?
I believe it's Heinlein.
I mean, if it was like German and he was in Germany speaking German, it'd be Heinlein. But I don't, once you become American, it doesn't always work that way.
Did he? I mean, he traveled to Russia, so I'm sure he went to Germany at some point and had to pronounce it that way. That's
true. And then that's it. It's like that from now on, right?
Exactly.
Excellent, excellent. So you have a love of classic sci-fi.
It's what got me into reading, really.
And what was about...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what was it about those early novels that sparked your creativity?
Well, I was born in the mid-'60s, and that's the height of the space race. So one of my first memories is watching, the moon landing on a rented black and white TV my parents got from the 7-Eleven. So
that's awesome.
The whole idea of, this leading to something like Have Spacesuit Will Travel or Spaceship Galileo or, Space Cadet, that appealed to me as a, 9, 10, 11-year-old. And I guess I sort of fell out of love for a little while with science fiction after I read through all the books that had been written in the 50s and early 60s and got to the kind of nihilistic, depressed, dark, apocalyptic science fiction of the 70s.
Right? It definitely changed tone, no doubt.
And I didn't really get back into it until cyberpunk, Neuromancer, William Gibson, that sort of thing. That drew me back into science fiction, which is why I think a lot of my earlier books are kind of a blending of Heinlein, silver spaceships and cyberpunk. It's an odd blending, but it appealed to me.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, I think I switched, just like you said, when it all got depressing, I switched to fantasy.
Me too. Exactly.
Yep, I think a lot of us did in the 80s. We're more of us were reading fantasy in the 80s.
Dragonlance Chronicles.
Yes. That was my first full fantasy novel besides Lord of the Rings, which somehow is very different, right? So it's different. So Kevin Petway's got a good question. Do your favorite old guard writers still hold up today? Like his are kind of mixed.
Some do. Heinlein definitely does. I mean, he wrote in a forever 1950s kind of society, but the people, the character still holds true. That they're still characters that I want to know better. Like Rod from Tunnel in the Sky, or Kip from Have Spacesuit Will Travel.
Nope, I feel that. Yeah, I've had the same thing because I can't read it with their eyes, right? I read it with my more modern eyes. So I definitely see things differently than I did when I was 10 reading this stuff. So, and it depends on the novel. I was watching the original Star Trek, which was, that was my life. It made me happy and made me addicted to television. What can I say? So I'm watching it again because I have Paramount Plus now. And I'm like, oh, what else do they have? Right? You always buy it for that one show. And then you're like, what else do they have? I'm like, oh, they have the original series. And I couldn't believe watching the first episode where Christopher Pike is freaking out about his ensign on the bridge because it's a female ensign. And he's like, I'm just not used to having girls on the bridge. I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Did he just say that?
Well, even if it's supposed to be in the 23rd century, it's still filmed in 1960s.
It was very much 1960s. Exactly. I just could not. I'm like, oh, no wonder I have these things in my brain I can't always get rid of because, I was raised on it. There's lots of good things. Don't get me wrong.
Well, Heinlein was
Send me hate mail if you want, but you shouldn't. But it is definitely dated. You can't deny.
Heinlein was very ahead of his time with women and females in his fiction. Even his juveniles had some very strong female characters.
That's true. That's true. And that's the thing. We're talking about stuff that was ahead of its time. The time itself was still farther behind than that. At least there was a woman on the bridge.
Yeah. I mean, at least Star Trek had minorities on their bridge.
Nice.
Even though, I mean, none of them were in command position, they still, they were there.
But they were at least there. Exactly. Yeah. We're getting somewhere. Let's see. Did you ever get to meet any of your author idols?
No, not really. I mean, I've met David Weber now, but that was like just recently. When I was just a fan and not a writer, I never met any of them.
Gotcha. Well, you're in this world now. I mean, you should make a list and just start checking them off. Yeah, I mean, the ones that are still here.
A lot of them are not around anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, not the ones from the 60s. That's very true.
I mean, Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke.
Yep, bunch of them. So have you ever gotten any advice that's really helped you?
Not personal advice, but advice I read that was given by other science fiction authors in general. I read it not to me, but just to everybody. Heinlein, his rules of writing, if you're going to be a writer, you have to write. That's the best piece of advice I ever got, because I was in a spot at one point where I wasn't writing. I was depressed and didn't think, I would ever make anything of this, and basically stopped writing. So that advice helped me to just do it.
Push through it.
Yeah, push through it.
And 40 books later.
49, sorry. There's one that's not published yet.
That advice worked.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Did you begin as a professional writer, or were there side roads to this end goal?
Oh, no. There wasn't side roads. This is like a map of blood vessels or neurons.
There are lots of branches.
Yeah. I started off in the Army, and the first book I ever wrote for publication started off in my junior year in college. And I was writing it while I was in the Army. And then I was at the bachelor officers' quarters at Fort Benning, Georgia. And I came home for Christmas thinking I was going to get the same room that I was in, but I did not. But I left this 275 handwritten, college-ruled, single-spaced 3-ring binder in the drawer of the nightstand in my BOQ room, and a maid threw it away. It was just as well, because it would have had to been rewritten completely anyway, because I made certain assumptions, this being like 89 and 90, about the end of the Cold War that turned out not to be the case. And so once I got out of the Army and got serious about trying to become a published author, I rewrote the whole book. And I also took the best parts of another book that I had been working on in the meantime and wrote that one as well. And I got an agent, and which I thought at the time would be the hardest part. But I mean, I had an agent. I got 4 different editors, just ripping everything to shreds and teaching me everything I needed to know about how to write a tight, concise book. And a couple of years, they tried to sell both those books and couldn't do it. And that's the point where we just let things die, and I got really down on writing and had a lot of different jobs, and we had a couple of kids, and eventually a friend of mine started talking about Amazon, and Kindle publishing. So I didn't want to do that, because to me, self-publishing equaled vanity publishing, and vanity publishing was what losers did who couldn't get published. And I was thinking,
we all go through that at first.
I'd rather not, I'd rather, nobody know that I was a failure than advertise it to everyone. But finally, he was telling me that there's people making hundreds of thousands of dollars on Amazon, just give it a shot. So I put, not knowing anything, because this is 2011. And there was
you got it early, nicely done.
Yeah, he started talking my ear off in 2010. So he kept the head of the curve. So thanks, Tim. 2011.
That was the good advice you got.
Yeah, 2011. I slapped these books on Amazon with homemade covers that weren't even the shape of a book cover. They were like little squares. Of images that I got off of the internet free.
How funny.
Put them at 99 cents because that was the cheapest you could put them. You couldn't make them free, or I would have. And the first few months, I sold like 30,000 copies of both of them.
Wow.
So at that point, I'm like, hey, maybe people want to read this. So that's when I started getting serious about it. And eventually I've been published with a couple of, like 3 different small publishers. Still don't have like a major trad publishing contract, but learn to live without it at this point.
Yeah, but don't necessarily need it, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I just want you to know that the chat is having like a heart attacks over the big missing work. Like it happens to all of us. And as you get older and you're writing more, you realize it's not a huge deal. You just recreate it. But that first time, I mean, it hurts.
I was gutted.
Yeah,
thankfully, I had at the time. I do not have this anymore, unfortunately. I had a nearly eidetic memory.
Oh,
so I remembered most of what I wrote.
That's convenient.
Yeah, I don't have that anymore. I lost it somewhere in my late 30s, early 40s.
Somewhere with having children, so now you have other things on your brain. Yeah, I think that's where my brain started to die too. I
think it just began to fill up and I didn't have room anymore.
That's right, exactly. I have other things in here now. Yeah, Zepha wants to know if you had if you felt the need to have a maid accidentally tossed out an airlock in the rewrite.
No.
Had
I met the maid, I might have turned her into a character, but no, I never knew who it was.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Og says he has the opposite of that type of memory. It's very, very different. Yeah, and there's other Icy Hot says that they're putting all of their free time into writing. So that's definitely part of the thing. Like, so when you were working full time in writing, how did you squeeze writing in?
I didn't write that much.
Honest answer. I love it.
I also was a full-on pantser, discovery writer, whatever you want to call it. Writing into the dark, someone calls it. I think that's a little pretentious, but basically, I just stared at the computer screen until something came to me. So it took me. Well, I won't count the first 2 books because those, the first book always takes a long time. But after I decided to get serious about it, my 3rd book took me 14 months to write. Of course, it was huge. It was 190,000 words.
Oh, wow.
And then the 2nd book took a year, also 180-some thousand words. And then a year for the next one. It took me a year each, basically, for my first 6 books. Well, I mean, not counting the first 2, my first 4, until I realized that I could write much faster if I started outlining, plotting, knowing what I was going to write. So
makes a big difference. Yeah.
But yeah, it took me also a year because I was just sitting there and not doing a lot of work even when I did have the time.
You were doing more of the planning phases at that point.
Yeah, I was planning as I stared at the screen.
I know. That's what they say. No, I totally don't plan. I just wing it. And I'm like, well, you're planning. You just plan at the moment, in the moment, right now.
Yep.
And you'll pay for it later in the revision.
Just planning it efficiently.
Correct. Now, mind you, if you can write 10,000 words a day, who cares? Do it however you want.
It's true.
But when you're a slow writer like I am, you need a plan. Otherwise, you're never going to get anything written.
And honestly, I don't do this is going to sound weird to some people, although maybe the people don't like my work, believe it, but I don't do revisions.
Oh, wow.
I do one draft, and I get corrections and I fix those, and that's it. Because I mean, I know people who will sit down and just, they'll turn off their inner filter, their inner editor, and just get the story out there. My brain doesn't work that way. I can't do it.
So you revise as you go. It's not that you don't revise. You just start taking it. Right.
Yeah, I'm saying my first draft is revised as I write it.
Gotcha. Yeah, different workload. That's what I've always said.
If you want to put it this way, my outline is my first draft in some ways.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a good point.
I don't put scenes, like some people say, what scenes did you cut? Or no, I do that in the outline. I don't have any scenes that I get rid of because I know when I do the outline if it's not going to fit.
If it doesn't work, that's awesome. Well, it makes sense. Well, like David Weber, he's famous for having ridiculously long outlines.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense. That's more like a first draft.
Didn't I read that he had like a 40,000 word outline once?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he's impressive with his outlines. So I don't feel very bad when I have my $15,000 or 15. I wish not 15,000. 50,000 word outline. Same kind of. I'm like, look, man, I'm nowhere near 40. I'm good. It's fine.
I think the longest one I ever had was 12,000.
Oh. Well, you write like really long books too, right? So it's pretty typical for military sci-fi.
Not really long. Well, it depends on what you think of as really long. I mean,
it's true.
If compared to urban fantasy, it's long. Compared to David Weber, it's short. Mine hover around the 85 to 100,000 word range.
Oh, that's a good range. It's very edible. I call that. That's very edible. I like those books because it's nice, especially because you have long series that are out. It's easy to like pick it up and just go through it that way.
Also, a lot of my books are from first person, and it's really, really difficult to write over 100,000 words in first person.
Right. It's hard to pull other people's character. Yeah. Other people's point of view in. Interesting. So which book gave you the most trouble or which series?
The most trouble. As far as the actual writing of it, don't tell my publisher, but my Holy War series, which I just ended, actually gave me the most trouble. And the reason is most of the military science fiction I write is from the point of view of the grunt on the ground, Marine or whatever. Holy War was the first, well, not the first, but the first one I really went in depth into fleet battles between starships, and fighters. And it's just not what I'm used to. And it didn't take me a long time to do it, but it took a lot of browbeating, just like, because it comes down to it, spaceships shooting at each other. How do you make that sound interesting the 12th time you have to do it?
It's absolutely true. Like in the movies, they can cheat because you have all the visual and the music, right? So in the books, that's a really good point. We have to use different tools.
It came down to, you're doing third person POV close. You have to give the experiences of the person and stop describing the externals of the battle as much as what the person's feeling. It's the only way I could make it different.
Right. And to make the reader actually feel it. So that was smart. You need to get right in there.
But it took a lot of mental effort to get that done.
Nice. Well, when you are not writing, what do you do to fill that creative cup?
I do a lot of wildlife photography.
Ooh.
So I actually moved to Wyoming from Florida because I wanted to be closer to the wildlife I wanted to photograph.
Really? That's awesome. I was going to ask you, there must be very, very different wildlife between Florida and Wyoming.
Yeah, I was going there anyway. I would come out to Wyoming and Montana 2 or 3 times a year, and got to the point where I work from home. I don't have to live, any particular city. Let me just see where I can live that's out there. So here I am. And my youngest graduated high school. She's a freshman in college right now. So when she comes home for the summer, it's going to be to a different state.
That's fun, but it's a new adventure. Have you actually been able to get out yet and take any pictures?
Oh yeah. I live about an hour and a half from Yellowstone.
Ooh.
And the entrance, I'm an hour and a half from the east entrance of Yellowstone, which is towards Cody, Wyoming. Okay. It's been closed for like 3 weeks now. But if you go out that direction, just before the entrance, there's a lot of bighorn sheep. And they're in the rut, and they're. So I've been going out there a lot, and there's all kinds of, hawks and eagles and stuff around here. So
nice. Got to go out there and get some of those big, bison.
I've got so many pictures of bison.
Oh, do you? You're like, I'm good. I'm bisoned out.
But the only way I'd be interested in bison pictures now is if it's like in a really cool setting, like there's a mountain, a snowy mountain in the background, or steam coming off of a thermal feature, something like that.
Oh, it's so pretty. The Florida Kevin says, in Florida, the bigger problem is wildlife that sneaks up on you.
Well, I've got plenty of pictures of gators. I lived in a town with lots of gators.
Yeah, I was born in Charleston, South Carolina, and that was the rule there. So I'm sure it's the same in Florida, where every bit of water has an alligator in it.
Exactly. Pretty much in Lakeland, where I'm from, any body of water bigger than the condensation puddle under a car's air conditioner has an alligator in it.
Yeah, yep. That was the rule there too. I kind of liked it. And we're in Houston, but we're in the north side of Houston. So it's like there's some kind of invisible line through the middle of Houston where anything north, there's no gators, and anything south, they're everywhere. So it's kind of funny. Yeah. I don't know if it's I
didn't even know there was gators in the Houston area at all. I thought they'd probably all be by the Louisiana line.
No, we go to Brazos Bend, and it's southwest of Houston. But like it's within, I won't say it's within city limits, but close enough.
This is what I use to take pictures of those animals.
Ooh. Alligator segregation. That's it, Kevin. That's what it is. Look at that. She's a beauty. No, put it back. You got to get everyone to see that better.
Okay.
Even have it camouflage? That's cool. Does that really work? Animals have no idea there's a human there because you have camouflage on it?
I don't have any. I just put that there so it won't scratch the lens when I hit it against things.
I got you.
I once had illusions I could make a living at wildlife photography, but it's you wind up spending so much more money in it than you ever get out of it, even if you do sell anything.
It's like if you don't, nail a gig with National Geographic, forget it.
Or actually, most of the people I know who try to be professional wildlife photographers are now giving wildlife tours or lessons to other people, and that's how they make their money.
That makes sense to me. There's always something else.
Basically, you have the choice between photography as a hobby or heroin addiction. I'd pick heroin addiction because it's a lot cheaper.
It might seem that way. That's a long-term cost that'll get you. Let's see. Smashy
I'll
says
move to Wyoming. That's a long-term cost.
Yeah, that's actually that's very true. Smashy says that looks really heavy. I was thinking. I mean, do you have to work out before you go out? Do you have to really get those muscles?
It used to be about 10 years ago that the lenses like that were incredibly heavy, and it was really hard to handhold them. You had to learn all these techniques, and you had to carry a tripod everywhere. But now they're making them so much lighter with new materials, so much lighter and so much more expensive.
It doesn't seem fair, does it? Doesn't seem fair.
No.
Hey, at least you don't have to carry around all the film. I couldn't imagine that.
This is actually really light. I mean, it's for the size, it's very light.
Impressive. Zafo says, "My, what a big lens you have."
The better to see you with, my dear.
Literally, look, it's not even funny. It's true. Oh, that's hilarious. So, have you used any of your outdoor experiences in your novels? Did something happen and you were like, dude, I have to use that?
I have used my love of the outdoors and my experience with it in several novels. One of them Recon series, which is starts out as a Marine who is stranded behind enemy lines on this occupied planet, winds up leading resistance. But then in later books, he becomes like a military contractor. I don't want to say a mercenary because he's not really up for hire. He's working for particular people.
Gotcha.
But he lives on this world that's filled with what they call revenants, which is animals which were extinct, and they use DNA to recreate them.
Ooh, like mammoths. They're going to do it. I just know they are.
Mammoths, saber-tooths, all that stuff. Not dinosaurs, because dinosaur DNA is too degraded.
We don't have any DNA. That's right.
Yeah, but we have DNA from mammoths and saber-tooth and things like that, and they could easily be recreated if you had the money. That's the key.
Yep.
But so that's a planet full of those things. So he and his wife in later novels works for their wildlife service, monitoring these animals. So I have like wolves hunting elk and things like that, and use those as metaphors for what happens in the book.
Ooh, clever. That sounds fun. It's nice to take the things we've actually done. It makes it easier to write it. You're like, I know what that smelled like and what it felt like.
Yeah.
Yep. Have you had, is there anywhere you haven't explored that you'd like to hit up next?
Well, I've always wanted to go to Northern Europe. Like Finland in particular has wildlife that you wouldn't expect to be in more. It's got huge brown bears, wolves, wolverines. You're more likely to be able to take a picture of a wolverine in Finland than anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
So I'd like to go there someday.
That sounds like Alaska to me.
Well, Alaska has all that stuff, but Alaska is the size of Alaska. And there's very few roads here. Finland has basically they have these little camps where you pay to go, and this sounds like cheating, but you're across this water like ponds, and the other side they bait, they put like dead deer or something, and the bears come in and eat it, or the wolverines come in and eat it. Nice. That's all highly illegal in Alaska or any place like that.
Well, I mean, if you're not going to shoot it, I think that's cool. You're shooting it with well, you are, but with a camera, then I think that's awesome.
The reason they outlaw it in Alaska and also everywhere else in the States is because they don't want the animals to associate humans with eating.
So maybe because they do this on the island in Finland, it's not so bad.
Or they're just, they're in Northern Europe and they don't care.
And yet they don't seem to have a problem. So maybe we're freaking out over nothing.
It's
possible. That wouldn't be us at all, would it? No. That's not totally within our modus operandi at all. They're all talking about cameras. They're all excited. You've got a whole photography fan group over here in chat.
Well, I just switched to mirrorless. I got Sony mirrorless now. So.
Ooh. Yeah, Zapo said he wanted a mirrorless too.
I was a Canon guy for a long time, and then.
Yep. No, we had some really nice Nikons, but I always took pictures of the kids. Like, that's mostly what I did. Like, I was scrapbooking and I was tired of crappy pictures. That's why I bought a fancy camera. It had nothing to do with anything else. And as they got older, I was like, I'm good.
Nowadays, I don't even take, people shots with my camera. I just use this.
Well, right? Yeah, exactly. You've got the phone. What do we need the camera for? It works fine. Unless you're a professional photographer, you don't need it anymore. Let's see. As writers, we don't just produce things, right? Like, we tend to consume content as well. Like we talked about Star Trek earlier and all the books we read and all those things. Have you watched anything lately that you've really gotten into?
Well, The Expanse. I love The Expanse.
Oh, yeah.
Best science fiction TV I've ever seen.
I've got to watch it. It's on my list.
I mean, once upon a time I would have said Babylon 5 was, but Babylon 5's special effects and CGI just does not hold up to modern, modern effects. I mean, it was on a shoestring budget even for the day.
Right. They're going to redo that though. They're like bringing it back.
That, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
worried. Excited. I know I'm excited because for the same reason, because also like the first 3 seasons were awesome and then it kind of went off the rails. So it would be kind of cool if they fixed the off the rails part.
I think seasons 2, 3, and 4 were awesome. Season 1, they were just getting their footing, and then season 5 wasn't ever meant to happen, and it shows.
Oh, I thought he planned 5 seasons from the very beginning.
No, well, he planned 5, and then they told him he was only going to get 4, so he wrapped it up in 4 seasons. And then they said, "Oh, we got 5 seasons," and he's like, "I already wrapped up my story arc."
Oh, I didn't know that. That totally explains it then.
So he had to create the Psy War, and
yes. Okay, I get it now. I was like, I swear he planned 5. I joined the military in the middle of that, so I never got to watch the whole thing until later when it came back and we could get it on streaming services, right? So like I missed the middle. I was like, but how did it end?
Uh-huh.
So yeah, no. And then so when I watched it all the way through, I was so excited to finally get to watch it. I was like, really? What was that?
As far as movies go, Dune was just incredible. I've seen it twice now.
Oh wow!
I saw it myself with my wife. With my wife and a bunch of friends, and really, really liked it. But then I saw it again over Thanksgiving with my son, and I was like, wow, it's even. I thought maybe watching it again I would get impatient because, like every Denis Villeneuve movie, it's really slow paced.
Yes,
but it was just as good the second time around. Denis Villeneuve is one of my favorite directors. I mean, he just says the cinematography in his movies is incredible. And Blade Runner 2049 was a glacially paced movie, but the cinematography, the visuals, it was like watching a work of art for 2 hours. And he gets really great performances out of his actors. So
yeah,
I'm really impressed with him.
That's the big thing for me. I think it was beautiful, but boring. Like, can you go faster? One? Dune.
Oh, but I don't know.
And I mean, they didn't even make it to halfway through the book. I thought they were at least going to make it to halfway.
Yeah, but I mean,
does that mean I'm not going to watch anymore? Oh, heck yeah, I'm going to watch all of them.
I thought the same thing the first time I saw it. I'm like, I don't like where you ended it.
No, it made no sense.
But then I started thinking about it, and it's like, well, do you really want to go into the first part of a whole new section of it and then end abruptly after that? I don't know.
It doesn't feel like a new section after this, though. No, it would have. I'm not sure there was another big climax part, though. But I mean, come on, they do movies; they can make one. So I don't know. That was just me. Now, am I going to keep watching it? Yes, I am. Did I enjoy watching it the first time? Yes, I did. Was it my favorite movie? No.
I love the performances in that movie too.
That I agree with it. Timothée Chalamet is amazing in anything he does, and he is a perfect.
Oscar Isaacs is great too.
I adore him. But I think he plays himself all the time, which is great, by the way. I adore him. But Paul, I could not imagine a better casting of Paul. He's perfect. So, but no.
I was ready not to like him because I really don't like Timothée Chalamet that much, but he was really good in this movie.
That boy can act.
They made a lot of choices too that I appreciated. Like there was times in the movie where I thought they would have him act a certain way just because that's stereotypical way that an adolescent would act in movies, and they don't, and he acts like more mature than that. And I appreciated the fact that they did that instead of going with the easy route, the tropey route that you see in every movie.
Well, Paul is not typical in any way, shape, or form.
Oh no, not in the book, but this is the movie, and they can change things.
That's true.
They did.
That's true, but yeah, they didn't. They kept his character. Og agrees with you. He thinks it was a good stopping point. So, yep. And apparently, they're all looking forward to Moon Knight.
Maybe.
I don't know what that is. It's
a comic book TV show. It's going to be on Disney Plus.
Oh. Cool.
Moon Knight is an incredibly interesting character. He's like a Batman type character, except the run they're going with and the most interesting version of him, he either has dissociative identity disorder, or he is the tool of a Egyptian god. We don't know which. he's either crazy or he's working with an Egyptian god.
Interesting.
So,
that actually sounds one of your characters, Florida Kevin. That's kind of cool. How does Kelly not know about this? I'm sorry, Kelly works a lot now. Okay, a lot, like a lot.
Oscar Isaacs is playing the main character in Moon Knight.
Now that's why I don't know about that. You would think my obsession with him would make me know about that. But wow, we're getting there, man. We're at 20 till. I think we might have to do our lightning round. Are you ready for our lightning round?
I'm ready.
All right. I'm gonna ask one more question. So you don't have to be quick on this one. If you could turn one of your series into a movie franchise, which one would it be?
Oh.
I know you have to choose one of your babies. You have a lot out. Sometimes this is easy for people to answer.
I think it would probably have to be Drop Trooper because it would be visually the most interesting.
Why?
Because it's about these battle suits, Starship Trooper style battle suits, coming down from orbit and in this huge interstellar war. And the main character is an orphan from post-apocalyptic Mexico who, when his family's killed, he has to, at like 6 or 7 years old, he has to wander through the desert to the new Trans Angeles, which is like a huge megacity, and he lives on the street and becomes like a con artist and then accidentally is involved in the accidental death of a drug cartel's hitman who's coming after him, and he's arrested for a felony murder and has the choice of going in the Marines or being sent to punitive hibernation. So I think it's got all the things that a movie franchise would appreciate.
Really work. Yeah, I like that. Though that must have been the worst assassin ever.
Well, he was really, the kid was really smart. He lived on the streets his whole life.
That's awesome. So what is your favorite flavor of ice cream? It's our favorite question.
Depends on who makes it. My favorite flavor of ice cream that I buy at the store and take home is Bluebell Cookie Two-Step.
Wait, can you get Bluebell in Wyoming?
No,
you might have to give that up.
I can't.
Oh, the sacrifices you made to take pictures of wolves.
Yeah. But the favorite I buy at an ice cream parlor might be different because there's all kinds of different local, flavors that they have, like Reese's peanut butter cup ice cream.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Which is always better when you buy it in an ice cream parlor. You buy it in the gallon. It's never that good.
No, it's true, right? It's almost stale, which is weird for ice cream. That's a good point. Oh, Smashy wants to know, pickle chips or jalapeno poppers?
I don't like either one.
What? Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, no. Failed
I'm not a big chip
fried
person.
Food category.
I'm not a big chip person.
Well, this is fried food. I mean, that's different.
Fried food. My stomach can't handle jalapenos.
That's fair. It's fair. I had to learn to adjust. I mean, I live in Texas now. It's required by Texas law.
Yeah.
At least that's what my husband told me. I mean, he wouldn't lie to me, would he?
No, husbands never lie to their wives.
No, right? Never. Such a smart man. You're obviously happily married.
29 years.
Oh no. Og wants to know the zombie climbing question. Since you just listened to the Jonathan Mayberry 20 questions, it's going to be interesting to see what you say. So, Og and Smashy apparently wants to know, do you think zombies can climb?
Who's zombies? There's so many different zombies. Are you talking Romero zombies or, 28 Days Later zombies or World War Z zombies? Walking Dead zombies? I can't answer that question.
It's too complicated.
My favorite zombies are from a series of novels called, they start with Ex-Heroes. Patrick Klein's, I think was it Peter Klein's? I can't remember. Peter Klein's, I think. Okay. Ex-Heroes, Expatriates, Excommunication, and Exile, like ISLE. But it's a set of books in which a zombie apocalypse happens in a world where superheroes are real.
Interesting. I haven't seen that combination before.
I know. See, I got so burned out on zombies by the time about this third season of The Walking Dead. I stopped watching or reading anything about them. But
that's about when I stopped too.
These books were really, really good. So if you want to give them a shot, they're really good.
I'll have
Peter
to
Klein, Clines.
Gotcha. The chat has decided you said zombies can climb, no matter what it is you actually said.
Okay.
Because the chat does that. I See How It wants to know, did you ever keep a journal with you for any random new ideas?
I didn't keep a journal that I write about my day in, but I used to have multiple 5 subject college ruled spiral notebooks that I would keep with me and write down ideas.
Yeah. So that's a yes, I see how it helps, especially when you're starting. After that, you can't keep track. You just are too busy writing.
Well, now I have the Samsung Notes on my phone. I write down any ideas I get in there.
There you go. Welcome to the modern world.
I'm very much a 21st century style writer.
I like that. Use what tools we have, right? Let's see. So what's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
Brush my teeth.
Perfect. What's your least favorite chore around the house?
Picking up the dog poop.
Fair. What is your favorite holiday dish?
Ham.
And I think that's it. Coffee or tea?
Neither one.
Neither one. You had a lot of neither ones. I like it.
I drink Diet Coke for my caffeine intake.
Sounds fair. Sounds fair. Can you get Diet Coke or only Diet Pepsi up there?
If you go to the store, you can buy Diet Coke. If you go to restaurants, all they have is Diet Pepsi, which I find disgusting.
Yep, I did too. When we moved from Charleston to Chicago, everything was Pepsi. We're like, what the heck? What's wrong with you people? Awesome. All right. So where can fans find you and your work?
You can find me on Amazon under Rick Partlow. I'm the only one. The only other Rick Partlow who's ever written anything is a B actor and Dolby artist. Who's been in some movies and TV shows from the 80s and 90s, but he doesn't write science fiction. So you look for Rick Partlow under Amazon, you only find me. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And on Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Duty Honor Planet, named after my first series, which turned out to be a marketing mistake to do that on Facebook, but it is what it is.
It is what it is. Awesome. Awesome. Well, now that Rick is your new favorite author, please make sure to review his work. Also review us wherever it is that you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitch or subscribe on YouTube. And we want to thank DH Dunn for being a subscriber on Twitch. You help us keep the lights on. And we will see you next week where we have, I hope their name is pronounced Shami Stovall, but I will let you know for sure next Tuesday. We'll see you then. Bye.